we're working to connect a region of over 600 more bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. We're moving to the next stage of the pandemic, and as the world resets to the new normal, we find ourselves seeking the right balance between health and livelihood, constantly adjusting the boundaries between liberty and responsibility. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. First, there are now more asymptomatic and mild coronavirus disease patients proceeding to government-run facilities for isolation, according to Malacanang. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque made the statement after National Task Force, or NTF, on COVID-19 Deputy Chief Implementer Secretary and Testing Czar Vivencio Vince Dizon bared that they've booked an additional 2,000 hotel rooms to accommodate additional asymptomatic and mild COVID-19 patients. In a taped interview with Roque, Dizon explained that since the Oplan Kalinga program was launched, isolation centers have been quickly filling up with more asymptomatic and mild COVID-19 patients. Roque also said he did not have data on the number of patients who have been transferred from their homes to isolation facilities, but vowed to collate and present data when it is available. Home quarantine is still allowed among asymptomatic and mild COVID-19 patients, provided they have their own rooms and bathrooms separate from other members of the household. The number of police officers who contracted the coronavirus disease, or COVID-19, has reached 1,761, according to the Philippine National Police on Thursday night. The PNP Health Service reported 118 more COVID-19 cases among its ranks. A total of 687 personnel have recovered from the disease, while the death toll stands at 9. The PNP Health Service is also monitoring 719 probable cases and 2,470 suspected cases. The majority of cops who have contracted the COVID-19 are asymptomatic. If a cop tests positive, he or she will observe a 14-day quarantine and then undergo another test. Once cleared, they have to rest for 7 to 10 more days before going back to duty. The infected cops came from those who are assigned in quarantine checkpoints. The California coronavirus cases have now topped 409,000, surpassing New York for most in the nation. Joining us live from our Silicon Valley Bureau is Don Orozco. Hello, Don.
Good afternoon, Alma.
Hello, good to see you back.
Just to really update you on what's going on here in the U.S. California has now overtook the state of New York in the number of cases of coronavirus. Plus, please don't note that California has a population of 41 million compared to New York, who has about 18 million people. California may have overtaken New York in that sense, but New York remains to have the most number of deaths, with over 32,000 people who have perished. With the sudden rise of coronavirus, State Senator Steve Glazer has urged Californians, and specifically California Governor Gavin Newsom, to shut down again itong state for the next 3 weeks in order to restore the gains in the fight against the pandemic. During its first few weeks, just today, there are 12,000 new cases and a record 157 deaths. That's statewide. And then yesterday, there were about 115, bringing the total death to 7,870. There were 12,807 new cases statewide and a total of 421 cases in California. Again, State Senator Glazer has come to a conclusion that a stronger stay-in-place order has to be implemented. The East Bay lawmaker added that the trajectory is getting out of control and limiting interaction of people by ordering a closure again of restaurants, salons, and other non-essential businesses. In the meantime, the number of deaths in the US is now at 143,000, with 1.2 million recovered and about 48 million tested nationwide. Here in the Bay Area, where there is a large number of Filipinos, it has about 45,000 confirmed cases and 733 have died from the coronavirus. And here, Alma, in Santa Clara County, we remain to be the most vulnerable with 180 deaths. And then sa San Francisco, it only has 53 deaths. And yan ang latest, Alma, when it comes to numbers in terms of those tested positive dito sa coronavirus here in the United States. Back to you, Alma.
Do you have any word on, have you heard anything about our Filipino-American friends, especially the frontliners?
Well, actually, there's a lot of stories circulating around, ano? And that will actually be a part of my report later tonight on your other program. But this is something that was observed from among Filipinos, specifically though in Los Angeles, because apparently there's a whole lot of numbers of Filipinos that are being inflicted by coronavirus in LA. But we will come up, I have coordinated with the consulate office in San Francisco and in LA, and hopefully we can also bring one of them live later tonight.
Okay, so what is the cause of the spike in cases? Is it because of the sudden reopening of the economy, or, I mean, it's gradual reopening of the economy. So what is the cause of the spike in cases in California?
Well, first is that still a lot of Americans believe that this is a fake news. This is not real. So that is why if you go outside, there still is a lot of people that do not wear masks. And now, almost all of the states, 50 states, have imposed the wearing of mask simply because the spread is very fast. And they wanted, that's why they're calling another stay-in-place order for the next 3 weeks so that it goes down to a minimum of about 2%. And they said that if it's about 2%, and in 3 weeks, they said that it will probably all die down already. That is the hope of both the federal and state officials here in the United States.
Okay. Thank you very much, Don. Looking forward for more updates there in California. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely, Alma. Again, I'm here live in Silicon Valley. This is Don Orozco. We live in interesting times.
Over in Thailand, the employers group are raising alarm over costs for quarantining migrant workers. Joining us live from Bangkok is Cristel Mapa. Hello, Cristel.
Hi, Alma. It's good to see you.
Good to see you back. Yes.
Yep. So here's our update here in Thailand. An employers group has cried foul over what it calls the steep cost for quarantining returning migrant workers, saying this places too much strain on employers already struggling from the COVID-19 pandemic. The quarantine expenses, estimated by the Department of Employment and approved in principle by the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration, range from 13,200 baht to 19,300 baht, or 400 to 600 USD per worker, according to CCSA. The proposed quarantine price tags, however, are subject to endorsement by the cabinet. The center has given the go-ahead to bring back workers from Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. The migrant workers are divided into two groups, the first of which hold valid work permits, passports, and re-entry visas. They return to their countries of origin to escape the COVID-19 pandemic and are now seeking to re-enter Thailand to resume work. The second group are those who have never worked in Thailand before and are seeking employment here. They also hold documentary proof that employers have offered them jobs in Thailand. Quarantine and health check procedures will be different for the two groups, according to DOE Director General Suchart Pornchai-Wipul. Both groups must possess travel documents and a fit-to-travel certificate. However, those in the re-entry group will be checked at the border for any COVID-19 infection by the Public Health Ministry and taken to alternative local quarantine or ALQ facilities located in the respective provinces they arrive in. They will spend 14 days in quarantine. For the first-time job seekers, the mandatory 14-day quarantine at ALQ facilities also applies. However, at the point of entry, they will be tested for 6 dangerous diseases, including COVID-19, and they must buy health insurance for at least 2 years if they do not wish to subscribe to the Social Security Fund. The cost of quarantine will be borne by the employers. Nilabon Payom, co-founder of the group of entrepreneurs with foreign workers, said employers do not agree with the high tab for quarantines they will be asked to pick up. She added the government also passes on expenses associated with the migrant workers' health checks to the companies, which is unfair and puts too much burden for them. The GEFW urged the government to at least absorb the cost of health checks as the migrant workers play a big part in driving the economy. Back to you, Alma.
All right, thank you very much, Crystal, for your updates there. So the emergency decree has been extended there also, right?
Yes, that is correct, Alma. It is extended until August 31st.
Okay. Stay safe, stay healthy, Crystal.
Yeah, so enjoy your weekend, Alma.
You too.
Reporting from Thailand, this is Crystal Mapa. We live in interesting times.
Meanwhile, 9 new cases involving 6 local transmissions and face masks are now mandatory in crowded places from August 1. Gail Aldos joins us live from Kuala Lumpur. Hello, Gail.
Hello, Alma. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Here is the latest news in Malaysia. 9 new cases involving 6 local transmissions. 9 new COVID-19 positive cases were reported in the country today, 6 of which were local transmissions. Health Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said. This brings the cumulative figure of cases to 8,840, including 143 active cases, he said. He said at the COVID-19 media briefing yesterday that of the 6 local transmissions, 4 are Malaysians while the other 2 are foreigners. He said the 4 local transmissions were detected in Sarawak, which involve 1 case each from the Stutung, Sentosa, and Kuching engineering clusters, while the 4th is still under investigation. He said the local transmissions involving foreigners, meanwhile, involve 1 case in Sabah detected through the screening process before the individual was released from prison, while 1 more case was in Kelantan, also via prison screening prior to being transferred to the Immigration Detention Center. Dr. Nur Hisham said 3 import cases reported overnight, meanwhile, involved a Malaysian and also 2 foreigners who have family residing in Malaysia and had been allowed in for work purposes. He said the 3 import cases are from Singapore, India, and the Philippines. Also, no new fatalities were reported, and the death toll remains at 123 cases, he said. Dr. Nur Hisham also said 8 patients had recovered and allowed to be discharged yesterday, bringing the cumulative number of recovered cases to 8,574 cases, or 97% of the total number of cases. He added that to date, there are 5 COVID-19 positive cases being treated in the intensive care unit, 2 of whom need ventilator support. In another related news, face masks are compulsory in crowded public places from August 1. The use of face masks in crowded public spaces and on public transportation will be made compulsory beginning August 1. Senior Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said those who flout this directive can be slapped with a 1,000 ringgit compound notice under the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act, 1988. He told a media conference on developments concerning the Recovery Movement Control Order in Parliament yesterday that this decision was made at the special ministerial meeting on the movement control order. Ismail Sabri said, in addition to advice from the Health Ministry, the decision was reached after taking into account the emergence of new clusters. He said for now, the ruling would only be enforced for public transportation such as light rail transit and mass rapid transit, and crowded public spaces such as markets and farmers' markets. As for those who intend to stitch their own face mask, Ismail Sabri said the Health Ministry will soon be issuing guidelines to ensure these self-stitched face masks comply with specifications and conditions set by the World Health Organization. He said the government had all this while not made it mandatory as they understand the situation faced by those from the lower income group in purchasing the disposable type. He also said this is because for disposable masks, it is best to change to new ones after 3 hours. A large family would find this costly, so WHO has come out with guidelines for non-disposable face masks, but on the condition they meet specifications. Ismail Sabri advised the people to take their own initiatives to protect themselves for the time being by wearing face masks in public areas, even though the ruling would only be enforced on August 1. In this regard, he reminded Malaysians that two important factors to curb COVID-19 infection were the use of face masks and by practicing social distancing. He said until August 1, people must protect themselves as many would be going home to celebrate Hari Raya Adil Adha next week, and he hopes that standard operating procedures will be complied with. On July 20, Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, in his special message on the latest development of the Recovery Movement Control Order, said the government was mulling the possibility of making it compulsory to use face masks in public spaces, as COVID-19 still remained a threat. This follows a rise in COVID-19 infections globally, including Malaysia. Singapore, for instance, in April made it compulsory for all those who leave home to wear masks. Back to you, Alma.
All right, thank you very much, Gail, for your updates there in Kuala Lumpur. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Alma. Reporting live from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, this is Gail Aldous. We live in interesting times.
ASEAN in Focus, we'll be right back.
Mula sa libu-libong auditionees, umabot na tayo sa ating top 5.
Angel Nicole Francisco, Cosmic Angels, Power Duo, Jonah Chris Bandilio, Adrian Oclarino.
At ngayong Lunes, sila ay maghaharap-harap para sa inaasam na 2 million pesos at tanghaling ultimate grand winner. This is it. This is the Judgment Day, with special performances of our TNG Horados and our very special guest, Marcelito Pomoy. Ito na ang pinaka-aabangang Grand Showdown. This is Tagisan ng Galing, the Grand Finale, July 27, 7:30 p.m. Dito lang sa Net25. Tagisan ng Galing is presented by SMC Infrastructure, building a better world. Sanmig sugar-free white coffee, puno ng white coffee taste without the sugar, kaya lower calories. Try mo na Sanmig sugar-free white coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free. Vet-approved Nutrichunks, the only premium dog food with active boost for optimum energy and prebiotics that help strengthen immunity. Just like Catherine Bernardo, gawing listo, ganado ang fur babies niyo. Listo ganado sa Nutrichunks. Magnolia Chicken Templados, delicious, ready to cook and freshly marinated daily. Pure Foods Lunch and Meat, pure sarap for every family. Star Chunky Cheese Corned Beef, ang cheesy ng corned beef mo. Walang duda, kids can tell na #1 ang Pure Foods Tender Juicy. Ang tender, ang juicy, ang sarap. Co-presented by Cooper, expert in air conditioning and electromechanical. Also engaged in structural, electrical, fire protection, plumbing, and sanitary services. Cooper, your ultimate MEPS and air conditioning solutions. Unlad Incorporated International, fight against global poverty. New San Jose Builders Incorporated. Canrib Corporation, your ventilation and air conditioning specialist. Vita Herbs Philippines Green Coffee, masarap, mabango, at healthy pa. Puerto Rico Resort and Convention Center, Cabiao, Nueva Ecija. I love Puerto Rico. In participation with Philippine National Bank, Masasandalan ng pamilyang Pilipino saan man sa mundo. PNB, you first!
Protektahan natin ang sarili at mga mahal sa buhay.
Rain or Shine Elastomeric Waterproofing Paint. Matimco. R Square Variables Incorporated. Compizel Enterprises. Saisho International Trading Corporation. DN Steel. EMAC UPB Roof Corporation. East West Bank. Your dream, our focus.
Hey, Gretchen Ho here, and I'm a white coffee lover. Creamy kasi, and very yummy. Pero mas masarap kung hindi nakaka-guilty. Check my new discovery, San-Mei Sugar-Free White Coffee. Puno ng white coffee taste without the sugar, kaya lower calories. Try mo na! San-Mei Sugar-Free White Coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free.
Skyway Stages 1 and 2, the elevated toll road system project, run from a section of the South Luzon Expressway from Alabang to Magallanes, Makati. The Skyway Stage 3 is an elevated expressway connecting the South Luzon Expressway through the existing Skyway Stages 1 and 2 to the North Luzon Expressway via Balintawak. Skyway Stage 4 is an 80-kilometer mixed elevated and at-grade toll road that will connect the existing Skyway system starting from the FTI section all the way to Bulacan.
Listo at ganado ang baby ko sa vet-approved Nutri-Chunks with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat, with essential nutrients to help them grow healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks.
Ikaw lang ang star ng buhay ko. Para sa akin, perfect ka. Ang cheesy ng corned beef mo. Pag Star Chunky Cheese Corned Beef, sarap ng corned beef, inangat pa ng real cheese cubes. Star Chunky Cheese Corned Beef.
Malaking parte ng pamumuhay namin ang agrikultura. Sa mother side ko, ang kanilang kalakal ay animal husbandry. Sila po ay nag-aalaga ng mga baka. Magmula po sa Pangasinan, napunta po ng Nueva Ecija. Ang father side ko naman po, mula po sa Spain, pagdating nila dito sa Pilipinas, sila po yung tinatawag na uring may lupa. Talagang nabuhay po kami, ibinuhay po sa amin ang agrikultura. Mga mahal kong kababayan, ito po si Robin Padilla. Inaanyayahan ko po kayong manood ng Unlad, Kaagapay sa Hanap Buhay. Dito po sa Net 25.
May kaagapay sa hanap buhay.
All right, Vietnam proposed a better pandemic prevention cooperation at an ASEAN regional forum, and 3 Russian returnees plus a Filipina has increased the total number of active cases in Vietnam. Joining us live is Ralph Wandolph Empay. Hello, Ralph.
Hi there, Alma. Happy Friday. Good afternoon to everyone.
Happy Friday.
Vietnam proposed the upcoming 27th ASEAN Regional Forum, or ARF, issue a declaration on cooperation in contagious disease prevention and control to have concrete and effective preventive measures against pandemics like the COVID-19. Deputy Foreign Minister Nguyen Quoc Dung made the suggestion while chairing the 26th ARF, which was held online on Tuesday. Amid rapid changes in the world and the region, Dung said the ARF needed to continue to uphold its role as a key forum for countries to increase dialogue, solidarity, and cooperation to cope with emerging challenges. At the meeting, participants appreciated Vietnam in the role of the ASEAN chair for taking urgent measures to help maintain dialogue and cooperation within the ARF. They agreed to build cooperation plans in the future to continue promoting cooperation in priority fields of search and rescue, fighting terrorism and transnational crimes, maritime security, non-proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, maintaining peace, and new security challenges such as cybersecurity. The meeting finalized the draft of the second Hanoi Action Plan of ARF, putting forward cooperation orientation for the forum during the 2020 to 2025 period. They also agreed to continue to complete draft declarations about cooperation in contagious disease, prevention and control, preventing terrorism organizations from recruiting children, preventing money laundering and terrorism financing to submit to ministers for approval. They noted challenges facing the world and the region, including the COVID-19 pandemic, competition among big countries, and non-traditional security issues such as extreme terrorism and violence, nuclear security, cyber safety, natural disasters, and climate change. Many ministers expressed their concerns over the recent developments in the East Sea, including a number of serious incidents in the region. They continued to stress the importance of maintaining peace, stability, security, safety, as well as freedom of navigation and flight in the area, and spoke highly of the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS 1982. They called on parties involved to exercise restraint and refrain from militarization, as well as actions that could complicate the situation, and to fully and effectively implement the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the East Sea. Deputy Foreign Minister Zoom said at the recent 36th ASEAN Summit, ASEAN reaffirmed its stance in the East Sea issue, stressing the need for involved parties to exercise restraint and refrain from militarization, as well as actions that could complicate the situation, and to fully abide by international laws and the 1992 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. And by the way, Alma, Vietnam is eyeing own COVID-19 vaccine by end of 2021. With the current progress, Vietnam is hopeful of having a safe and effective domestically made COVID-19 vaccine by the end of 2021, a health official said. Nguyen Ngo Quang, Vice Director of the Administration of Science, Technology and Training under the Ministry of Health, made the remarks at a Wednesday meeting on speeding up the COVID-19 vaccine and regulations in Vietnam amid the current state of public health emergency. Quang said that on average, it would take 3 to 5 years at least to develop a vaccine with standard procedures. But now, by facilitating procedures, all different stages are conducted and results reviewed nearly simultaneously, so a vaccine for the novel strain of coronavirus could be attained faster. In clinical trials on humans, for example, after initial results from phase 1 trials where the humans are introduced to a vaccine are available, researchers can move into phase 2 and continue to supervise phase 1 without needing to wait until the phase 1 is formally concluded. Licensing and authorization also facilitated. Wang said that even with this expedited timeline, the vaccine's quality must still be ensured. The product must be able to prevent coronavirus infection based on ethical principles in medical research. Vietnam has got a good handle on the coronavirus pandemic with no new community infections for 97 days, and the majority of its confirmed tally of 408 being imported cases that were quarantined upon arrival. And Vietnam is currently among 42 countries in the world that can manufacture the stock used in its own national expanded immunization program, as Vietnam's National Regulatory Authorities, or NRA, for vaccine is considered to be compliant with the World Health Organization standards. If Vietnam comes up with the COVID-19 vaccine, it would be easy for the country to export the domestically made vaccine to other countries as well. Currently, there are companies and institutes here in Vietnam working on a COVID-19 vaccine, and the initial results are promising. The state-owned company Biotech, cooperating with the University of Bristol in the UK, is currently the front runner in the vaccine race in Vietnam, with the vaccine candidate demonstrating positive initial results on mice. Acting Health Minister Long stressed the Vietnamese government welcomes all units that are capable to get involved in the researching and manufacturing of the COVID-19 vaccine. He has also pledged to facilitate funding for units reaching promising results and ones that can have industrial scale manufacturing capabilities. Now, Alma, for my final news. 3 Russia returnees, Filipino woman up Vietnam's COVID-19 count. 4 people, including a Filipino woman, were confirmed COVID-19 positive Thursday, increasing Vietnam's total to 412 and active cases to 47. One patient is a 37-year-old Filipino education expert who flew from South Korea on July 19. She tested positive the next day and is being treated at the Phu Quoc District Medical Center. The other 3 are Vietnamese and a woman, 25 to 49. They had flown in from Russia to the Van Don Airport in northern Quang Ninh province on July 17 and tested positive on Wednesday and Thursday. They're being treated at Nam Dinh General Hospital in the northern eponymous province. All 4 patients had been quarantined on arrival. 16 others on the July 17 flight from Russia had tested COVID-19 positive previously. And all active COVID-19 cases in Vietnam are in stable health, and 4 have tested negative ones. Over 10,000 are in quarantine across the country, most of them in centralized facilities and the others in hospitals, own homes, or other designated accommodations. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Ralph, for your updates there in Vietnam. Have a great weekend.
And by your EBC correspondent in Hanoi, Vietnam, we live in interesting times.
Now, to ensure the health of students, educational institutions in Bangladesh decided not to reopen schools before September. That and more from our EBC correspondent in Bangladesh, Arabel Pascua, joins us live. Hello, Arabel.
Hi, Alma. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Okay, here are the latest updates in Bangladesh. The Ministry of Education says no decision has been taken so far on reopening educational institutions after Eid. Schools are not reopening before September in a bid to ensure health safety of the students amid the coronavirus pandemic. If the situation improves, then educational institutions would reopen in mid-September, according to officials familiar with the matter. According to the sources at the ministry, the educational institutions in the country are on holiday until August 6. The decision on whether they will remain closed or reopen will be taken before the said date. Meanwhile, the government has appointed Abul Bashar Muhammad Khurshid Alam, a professor of surgery at Dhaka Medical College, as the Director General of Health Services, replacing Abul Kalam Azad. The Health Services Division announced the appointment of Alam hours after terminating a contract with Azad on Thursday. The changes come as the DGHS is struggling to regain public trust amid a series of scams related to COVID-19 tests. Alam, who is also the General Secretary of Bangladesh College of Physicians and Surgeons, now has the daunting task to play a key role in the much expected overhaul of the country's healthcare system as the head of the key government agency in the coronavirus battle. Health Minister Zahid Malek said the government would form a task force to monitor irregularities in the health sector. Azad was the latest casualty since the episode of fake COVID-19 tests unraveled. Earlier, the government replaced Asadul Islam with Abdul Manan as the Health Services Secretary amid questions over the handling of a scam involving masks for government hospitals during the ongoing crisis. In addition to that, Alma, Bangladesh has registered 50 new deaths from the novel coronavirus infection in a day, bringing the body count to 2,801. The tally of infections surged to 216,110, and another 2,006 patients recovered through treatment at home and in hospital care in the same period, taking the toll to 119,208, according to the DGHS. Back to you, Alma.
Okay, thank you very much, Arabel. Stay safe, stay healthy over there in Bangladesh.
Thank you very much, Alma. Reporting live from Bangladesh, I am Arabel Pascua. We live in interesting times.
Okay, in Vietnam again, the country is asking for a better management of the maritime dispute there, plus an enhanced trade cooperation with China. And also, Japan is eyeing a resumption of cross-border travel now with Vietnam. Micah Gwyneth Apostol joins us live from Vietnam. Hello, Micah.
Hello, Alma. Xin chào.
Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Here are the latest news from Vietnam. Vietnam asks for better sea dispute management, enhanced trade cooperation with China. Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Pham Binh Minh has expressed concerns over the recent complicated developments over the South China Sea with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi on Tuesday. The diplomat asks that the two countries better manage the sea dispute, refrain from asks that complicate the situation or expand dispute, and ask the China fully respect the legitimate rights and interests of Vietnam, contributing to peace and security in the East Sea. The maritime dispute between the two countries over the resource-rich sea was raised during the 12th meeting of the Steering Committee for Vietnam-China Bilateral Cooperation, held virtually on Tuesday. The two foreign ministries agreed to abide by the high-level mutual understanding and agreement on basic principles guiding the settlement of maritime issues between Vietnam and China, comply fully with international law, and promote negotiation mechanisms for maritime issues that would bring practical results. Vietnam and China also agreed to effectively and fully implement the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea in its entirety and step up efforts towards an early conclusion of an effective and substantive code of conduct in the South China Sea. However, the two sides have acknowledged the positive results attained through the past 10 negotiations on maritime delimitation and development cooperation conducted since the 11th meeting of the Steering Committee 2 years ago in Ho Chi Minh City, as well as acknowledging the bilateral cooperation's achievements in less sensitive areas at sea. The meeting drew the attendance of many ministerial leaders and local leaders of Hanoi, Haiphong, as well as 7 border provinces. At the conference, the two sides agreed that since the last meeting, Vietnam-China ties had sustained a positive upward trend as high-level exchanges were maintained by flexible forms, with Vietnamese Secretary and President Nguyen Phu Trong and Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping communicating, exchanging letters and congratulatory messages. Vietnamese Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc attended a number of economic forums in China and discussed COVID-19 cooperation with Chinese Premier Li Keqiang in April this year, while Vietnamese National Assembly Chairwoman Nguyen Thi Kim Ngan paid an official visit to China in 2019. It was noted that while bilateral trade had suffered considerable blows as a result of the pandemic, but still, within the first 6 months of the year, trade between the two sides posted a growth of 4.5%, while many Vietnamese products, notably milk and mangosteen, had officially reached the Chinese market for the first time. Foreign direct investment from China in 2019 ranked 7th out of 132 countries and territories currently investing in Vietnam. Before the coronavirus crisis, China had for many consecutive years dominated the number of tourist arrivals in Vietnam, while Vietnam was one of the ASEAN countries with the largest number of visitors to China. The two sides had cooperated and supported each other in COVID-19 prevention and control efforts and carried out many activities on the occasion of the 70th anniversary of establishing diplomatic relations. At the meeting, the two sides identified and discussed with some key tasks in the future to promote the sustainable development of the comprehensive strategic cooperation partnership between Vietnam and China. The two sides agreed to promote high-level visits when conditions permit, but maintain contacts in an appropriate manner while the pandemic situation remains complicated. Vietnam and China also concurred to enhance effective cooperation between the two communist parties, promote the role of the two foreign ministries in coordinating and deepening bilateral relations, implement implement cooperation mechanisms in the field of defense, security, and law enforcement, and exchange experiences and carry out cooperation regarding COVID-19 prevention and control. The two also agreed to work on resuming commercial flights between Vietnam and China to facilitate travel and flow of goods and services. The two countries agreed to continue promoting cooperation in the field of economics, trade, and investment in a sustainable manner. Vietnamese Foreign Minister Pham Binh Minh asked that China create favorable conditions for bilateral trade activities, including border trade, to grow, import more of Vietnamese products, especially agricultural products, encourage Chinese enterprise to boost investment in modern environmentally friendly technologies, and direct efforts to thoroughly resolve obstacles and outstanding issues in some cooperation projects. Another news from Vietnam, Japan eyes resumption of cross-border travel with Vietnam in late July. The Japanese government plans to ease travel restrictions for Vietnam and Thailand as early as late this month, as the two Southeast Asian countries have brought their coronavirus outbreaks under control. The Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement Wednesday that Japan has held talks with Thailand and Vietnam regarding phased measures toward the resumption of cross-border travel. As early as late July, Japan will introduce the residence track, which will restore travel between Japan and the two ASEAN countries. All incoming travelers are required to spend a fortnight's quarantine at home or another designated area to prevent the spread of coronavirus, the Japanese ministry said. Flights to and from Thailand and Vietnam are set to resume this month with 14-day quarantine period to impose on travelers. Kyodo News quoted Japan Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi as saying at a press briefing on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the business track, which allows business travelers to conduct business activities in Japan's limited areas during the 14-day quarantine period, will be considered later. We will continue to coordinate with Thailand and Vietnam through diplomatic channels toward commencing this scheme as early as possible, and will make an announcement as soon as the arrangement is ready, according to the Japanese ministry. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was quoted by Japanese media as saying on Wednesday that Japan would commence negotiations to resume business travel with 12 Asian countries and territories, including China, South Korea, and Taiwan. Japan has an entry ban in place for 129 countries and territories. Moving forward, Tokyo plans to progressively ease entry bans for foreign employees, companies in Japan, and overseas students who have a status of residence. The re-entry of foreign residents, irrespective of their specific visa status, will take place gradually, Abe said. Roughly 88,000 people, including students and skilled workers who left Japan before the travel ban took effect, will be given priority, with around 11% of them being Vietnamese citizens. Quick update for the latest update of the coronavirus here in Da Nang. Da Nang City authorities have quarantined more than 50 people who were in close contact with a local who tested positive for COVID-19. The suspected patient is a 57-year-old man, went to Da Nang Sea Hospital after coughing and feeling tired on Wednesday. After diagnosing him with pneumonia, doctors took his samples for testing for COVID-19 and the result turned up positive. But his samples have been sent to the Pasteur Institute in Nha Trang and the National Institute of Hygiene and Epidemiology in Hanoi for more tests for confirmation. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Micah, for your updates there in Vietnam. Stay safe, stay healthy, have a great weekend.
Thank you, Alma. You too. Reporting live from Da Nang, Vietnam, this is Micah Gwinnett, O Apostle. We live in interesting time. Stay safe, everyone.
ASEAN in Focus, we'll be right back.
Tatawagin ko na ang 5 contestants na papasok sa finals. Nasa inyong mga kamay ang kanilang kapalaran at 100% ng desisyon ay manggagaling sa inyong boto. Kaya vote na sa pinakamagaling na contestant. Kung ikaw ay Team Angel Nicole Francisco, Text TNG Space Angel. Sa palagay mo, Cosmic Angels ang pinakamagaling. Text TNG Space Cosmic.
Sa mga ito ay kailangan, di ako sumusok sa anong laban. Kami ang naging malahigit, kanino man, naniniwala sa kababalahan. Mga pamahin hanggang patong bayan, sa pangungulila ay musika naman, pinakamalakas na panlaban. Pag-ibig para sa mga kabataan, di kinaiyan sa tamang paraan. Para ang siko ng bawat kabataan, bawat kabataan Pilipinas ating bayan.
Kung Power Duo ang nagpahanga sa'yo, text TNG Space Power. Support na kung napahanga ka ni Jonah Chris Pandilio. Text TNG Space Jonah Chris. One at the best na para sa'yo si Edrain Oclarino. Text TNG Space Edrain. Bumoto na at isend sa 0922-110-1400. Isang boto kada isang mobile number. Make sure na tama ang keyword para valid ang boto mo. Pwede rin kayong bumoto via online. Pumunta lang sa Tagisan ng Galing channel sa YouTube. Hanapin ang performance ng paborito niyong contestant. Panuorin, i-like at i-share. 25% ang text votes, 25% ang views, 25% ang like at 25% ang share. Kaya naman lahat ng boto, views, like at shares nyo ay mahalaga. So vote now! At sabay-sabay nating abangan kung sino ang tatanghaling ultimate grand winner sa Tagisan ng Galing!
Finally, in our news, in a report released today, the United Nations Development Program, or UNDP, said the immediate introduction of a temporary basic income for the world's poorest people could slow the current surge in COVID-19 cases by enabling nearly 3 billion people to stay at home. The report, Temporary Basic Income, Protecting Poor and Vulnerable People in Developing Countries, estimated that it would cost from $199 billion per month to provide a time-bound, guaranteed basic income to the 2.7 billion people living below or just above the poverty line in 132 developing countries. Let's listen in.
Someone you all know, Akin Steiner,
So the notion of a temporary basic income emerged as a viable way forward to both address the containment of the pandemic, but also to address the extraordinary human suffering and the escalating situation for many of the world's poorest, those living below the poverty line and those just above the poverty line and very likely to fall below it in the coming weeks or months if nothing is done. It is for that reason that we consider the option of a temporary basic income as something that every country needs to examine in terms of its domestic response, national budget planning and measures that are being put in place. And
to stay at home during the pandemic. So
the harsh reality is that at this moment, the pandemic is reaching many countries that have a high number of vulnerable people, have limited social protection systems, and therefore we need to find ways in which we can address both the containment of the pandemic and the economic and social fallout.
And he is joined today by George Gray Molina.
It is estimated that over $3 trillion would be paid by developing and emerging economies this year in debt repayments and interest payments. A debt standstill and a potential debt restructuring would be more than sufficient to cover both the financing of these temporary basic incomes, and they would be not necessarily needed for every country, obviously. So in many respects, this is a potentially viable proposition to an otherwise unmanageable situation right now. And
they're here to present a UNDP report that was published today.
That's the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.